Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever-loving host, Shorty, and today I'm reviewing Hawk the Slayer. And I feel like I should have a content warning for may contain dangerous levels of nostalgia, but I've never watched Hawk the Slayer. And I'm willing to bet if any of my friends are watching this right now, they're probably shaking their heads in disgust, surprise, and general amazement. It is kind of famous for being very low budget, sword and sorcery kind of thing that it looks like it could be filmed by a bunch of mates in the woods. I've got friends who do live action role playing and cosplay and the like, whose outfits that they wear for fun for weekends away are better quality costume designs than a lot of the stuff that happens in this movie. And I say a lot of stuff. I've basically very quickly before this video review, found it on YouTube, and it is on YouTube. You can go watch your time movie for free. And I flicked through a few screenshots for it, and I was looking at some images, and it does look exactly the kind of cheap thing that I thought it would be. But I am going to watch it. If for no other reason than the significant opening chunk of this comic book is the story from the movie. And I kind of like it, that it does tell you everything you need to know. It does take up about 10, 12 pages, I think. I didn't count them. But after reviewing Amazing Spider-Man yesterday and being dropped in, having no idea what's going on, this one summarized an entire movie pretty succinctly and did it in interesting ways. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the artwork, is how he did it. This is Henry Flint, who does some of the most complicated panels, not panel layouts, but individual panels that I've seen. Usually, with a comic book fan, you're used to the idea that a panel will be, is a breakup of time. There's only so much can happen in a second, as it were, or in a few seconds. So then you move on to the next panel to show time has passed. Some people do different things with that. The artist for Undone by Blood does some rather excellent things with time passing within a single panel. It's not unusual, but it needs to be done well, otherwise it can be messy. And in this particular instance, I'm going to show you this panel here on the bottom of that page. That is 3-4 different scenes of stuff happening there, at least, maybe 5. But it all makes sense. The boxed out text does just enough to tell you what's going on, but it doesn't make you rely on just the narration. The artwork is good enough that it stands alone and actually helps the story as well. It does this quite a lot. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I think if you're not familiar with comic books as a medium, you might have to glance over a page a couple of times to make sure you're following everything that he's doing. But I think that's worthwhile. It is a comic book which works more effectively the more you pay attention to it, because the artwork is very, very busy, even on panels where it is a set scene. There is foreshadowing in there, and the level of detail and the scratchy quality of the lines means it's a feast for the eye, certainly, and it's one you need to take your time with. Writing-wise, we are dealing with Garth Ennis at his most Garth Ennis. On the very first page of this comic book, he describes one of the main characters in the movie as a right bastard. And yes, that's exactly what I expect of Garth Ennis. Literally, that is him being him. Describing the main villain of the entire thing as just a right bastard. I mean, this is the guy who created Billy Butcher for The Boys. I mean, I don't know if you'd expect anything different. What you also get is his trademark style of humor. He's not the funniest guy in the world, I don't think. He has a tendency to sometimes let one joke overstay its welcome. Again, I'm looking at The Boys for that one. Comic book superheroes as a sex and power fantasy is a joke that didn't need to run for what was originally 12 volumes of comic book. It's fine. I really think the TV series did a better job of adding some extra layers of depth to it. But this one, it's that same kind of puerile thing, and as long as it doesn't overstay its welcome, it can be funny. It can be entertaining, especially with the style of story we're talking about. The most noteworthy joke is when a serving wench makes reference to an abbess's overly large bosoms. It's written in such a way that I don't want to spoil it for you. It is the quintessentially British sense of humor. And yes, I know he's Irish, but it still has that kind of feel to it. And it also has that 80s kind of low budget movie kind of vibe to it as well. His writing doesn't have the polish on that he has in other works that he's done. It feels like this has been delivered by people who've not been paid very much to play these parts. An awful lot of narration, an awful lot of dialogue comes from background characters who look like they'd be getting paid the equivalent of minimum wage to turn up, put on a terrible costume, and basically try not to stare at the camera when they're delivering their lines. So to be fair, that's exactly what he's done, and it's exactly how the movie feels to me. So yeah, it's very successful. Is it the best thing I've ever read? No, but it is thoroughly enjoyable. There are times when I just literally put the comic book down and smiling to myself. And there are times when I'm chuckling away, put my hand on my mouth so I don't just blurt it out loud laughing. And it also is nailing all the parts you want for a classic sword and sorcery movie style comic book as well. It's everything it's trying to do, it manages successfully. I think your mileage may vary depending on whether or not you want these kind of things in your world, though. That's it for me. I might do another one later on today because there's a lot out this week. But until then, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.